What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American, here today to react and continue learning about how Norway is becoming the world's richest country. Part 5. If you haven't seen part 1, 2, 3, or 4, feel free to go check those out first, or stay here in part 5. That's perfectly fine as well. But so far, we have learned about how Norway became rich. First, selling wood, then selling hydroelectricity, and then selling oil, which is what Norway is kind of known for now. And now Norway just makes tons of money selling oil to the rest of the world, and with the Norwegian Oil Fund, which has done incredibly well. So it's all starting to make a lot of sense for me how Norway has been so successful, and Norway has done an amazing job setting itself up to be in this position of success. It was not an accident. Norway has been very, very intentional throughout its history with putting itself in this position to really succeed. So I'm really interested in continuing this story about how Norway is becoming the most wealthy country in the entire world. This has been so fascinating, so let's keep going. Let's take a look.
The results of all of this prudence and decades of forward-looking strategic thinking all culminated in 2022 after the Russians decided to invade Ukraine.
Oh, yeah.
In the aftermath of triggering the biggest war in Europe since World War II, the European Union decided to begin shutting down their previously massive imports of Russian oil and gas.
Oh, wow. Yes. I haven't even thought about how the Russia-Ukraine war has had an impact on Norway, like in terms of financial, in terms of oil. Because they're saying, after Russia started trying to invade Ukraine, Norway and a lot of the other countries around the world stopped buying oil from Russia as a protest. So I'm guessing this has been very good for Norway. Not that war is a good thing. It's a terrible thing. But it just so happens that Norway is in a good position to be there to provide the oil to everyone who does not want to buy it, does not want to support Russia. I totally get it now. Okay.
In order to deny the Kremlin its primary source of funding for their war machine attempting to overrun Ukraine.
Right,
But of
right.
course, the EU had to quickly find somebody else to begin replacing Russia's previously large shares of 25% of their oil imports, and
Wow. So previously, Russia supplied Europe with up to 25% of its oil, which is massive. And Europe needs to find another place to get oil. Does Norway have enough oil to meet the demand? If Russia is taken out of the picture, can Norway really make up 25% more of the total European oil supply?
45% of their gas imports. And Norway, with its big oil and gas resources right nearby and its friendly relations, was the best positioned country in the world to take advantage of the situation and fill in the demand.
Okay.
Consequently, exports of Norwegian oil by tankers, gas through pipelines, and even liquefied gas or LNG by tankers all began surging towards the EU market to replace the Russians.
Wow.
With Norway's overall share of EU oil imports rising from 9.5% just before the war to 13.3% in the first quarter of 2023.
Wow. Okay. So it's not that big it's not like a 25% increase or anything. It went from Norway being 9% of all the oil in Europe, which is a massive amount of oil. We are talking about a lot of countries. Norway went from supplying 9% to 13%, which is that's a massive increase for Norway. But I don't know if that makes up for all of the oil that Europe was depending on Russia for. So has Europe been met with oil trouble, like not being able to get enough oil? oil supply constraint? I wonder. Maybe the price of oil had to go up a lot because a lot of the supply was taken away, huh?
Which makes Norway currently the EU's single largest provider of oil.
Wow.
Norway's share of the EU's imported piped gas also skyrocketed upwards from 38.1% just before the war to a whopping 46.1%
Wow.
in the first quarter of 2023.
Wow, wow, wow. And this has just continued on now to 2024, I imagine. These are some very, very substantial increases. These are actually huge. It seems like Norway was just in the perfect position to help pick up the slack that was created. It's very fortunate that Norway has all this oil because exactly for this time and for this need during this war, Norway has been able to help out a lot with this problem.
While Norway's share of the EU's imported LNG rose from basically nothing just before the invasion to 6.6% in Q1 of 2023.
Wow.
The bloc's fifth largest provider of LNG now overall. And at the same time as Norway's oil and gas export volumes to a suddenly desperate EU were rapidly rising, the global prices of oil and gas were each rapidly rising right alongside them.
Yes. Now there's a lot less oil because a lot of oil did come from Russia. So without that, naturally, the price of oil is going to go up a lot. Now, that being said, Norway must be doing very well, like financially, right? If Norway is trying to meet this demand, if Norway is selling oil to all of Europe now, basically, and oil prices have gone up, this actually turned out to be kind of a good thing for Norway, but of course, at the cost of lives, at the cost of war, which I know Norway does not want. Nobody wants that. So this has had such a terrible effect and a sort of a positive effect for Norway as well, inadvertently.
The result of this situation caused by Russia has been an absolute financial bonanza for the Norwegians, the likes of which has never before been seen.
Right.
The country pulled in a whopping $112.3 billion in revenue from their oil
Wow.
and gas industry in 2022 alone.
Wow. Norway was already doing really well. Norway was already like one of the wealthiest countries in the world, especially per capita, per person. And now with this happening, maybe this is explaining the whole question. The whole topic here is, why is Norway becoming the richest country in the entire world? Well, situations like this are only increasing Norway's wealth as well. So in the modern day, right now, Norway is only growing even larger and larger financially.
And then immediately shattered that record with another $131 billion in oil and gas revenue across 2023.
Oh my
compared
God.
to a relatively paltry $29 billion in oil and gas revenue that they earned before the war and the energy crisis in 2021.
What? What? This is insane. That is absolutely insane. In 2021, Norway earned like 29 billion from oil. Then a year later, that basically quadrupled from 29 to 112 billion and then to 130. Yeah, Norway's oil like revenue quadrupled. It went up 4 times more higher. That is absolutely bonkers. That is crazy.
Norway's oil and gas revenue in 2023 alone was roughly equivalent to the entire collective GDP of Slovakia. And they've been utilizing their sudden windfall very wisely. They have invested enormous amounts of it into the Sovereign Wealth Fund, and tens of billions of dollars more are being invested to explore for even further untapped oil and gas deposits that could be—
Wait, what? What? Oh, this is a thing now? Oh my God. Imagine if Norway discovers oil in these untapped regions to the north of Norway and northwest of Norway. That'd be absolutely crazy if Norway can find more oil here. So, Norway has been fortunate with a lot of money recently, but one thing Norway does that is not luck is that Norway invests this money very, very strategically, very intelligently into the sovereign Norwegian Wealth Fund and invests it into finding more oil, which will increase Norwegian oil revenue even higher. It's very, very smart.
Could be found within Norway's far northern Barents Sea that still remains largely unexplored.
So all of this is Norwegian territory, huh? All of this ocean around Svalbard, I think, huh? I didn't know that.
More pipelines are being built to Europe to expand their export capacity even further and to replace the Russians' previous market share even further. Norway's increasing displacement of Russia in the European energy market was perhaps best symbolized in September of 2022. On the 27th of that month, a series of bombs detonated underwater, destroying sections of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 natural gas pipelines.
Okay, I'm really glad they're talking about this because a lot of Americans, like myself, we didn't understand what this was all about. The Nord Stream pipeline, I heard that it got bombed. I didn't understand what that meant or who it was, or I was very confused about this. So I am glad they're talking about this.
Symbolized in September of 2022. On the 27th of that month, a series of bombs detonated underwater, destroying sections of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 natural gas pipelines that connected German factories and homes directly to Russia's huge natural gas fields in Siberia.
Okay. This connected Germany and Russia. Pipelines from Germany to Russia. Okay.
Both pipelines were rendered completely inoperable by the sabotage, destroying Russia's ability to directly export gas to Germany. And then, the very next day afterwards, the Norwegians and the Poles inaugurated the opening of the Baltic Pipe, Norway's brand new gas pipeline to Poland that will replace all of the roughly 60% of Poland's natural gas imports.
Wow, the next day was the opening of the Baltic Pipeline, which gets oil and gas from Norway to Poland and sort of by Germany, sort of like fixing this whole issue, I guess, right?
Had been coming from Russia with Norwegian gas instead. Norway has therefore emerged in the 2020s as the European Union's largest single supplier of energy.
Wow.
And in the future, it isn't likely to be limited to oil and gas exports either. In the future, as climate change progresses, it's expected that precipitation levels in Scandinavia will actually increase further than what they're like today. Which will mean that even more water will be feeding into Norway's rivers that cascade down the mountains toward the west coast.
Oh my gosh, do Norwegians know about this? I have no idea about any of this. So this is talking about the future of Norway. Precipitation is going to, rain is going to increase in Norway in the future. I don't know how far in the future, which is going to increase Norway's hydroelectric power production, just making more energy and more money and more energy for Norway. So I don't know if there's anything bad about precipitation increasing in Norway. Could that be bad? Could that cause flooding? Or is this just a good thing? It seems like a good thing, maybe.
While Norway's still largely untapped wind potential is expected to be expanded to make the country a global leader in wind energy as well.
Oh my god. Norway is getting out of control. This is crazy. Holy cow. Norway is absolutely killing it with the oil. Norway is looking for more oil now. Norway is going to have more hydroelectricity, and Norway is building more wind power, like windmills, wind turbines. Norway is just like the energy capital of the world, it sounds like literally.
Well, Norway likely won't need all of this excess renewable hydro and wind power for just itself in the future.
Right.
So the possibility has already been raised of building out transmission lines from Norway to the EU so that the Norwegians can export their hydro and wind-sourced energy to Europe in addition to their oil and gas resources.
Oh, wow. So Norway is going to try to connect, like, power lines. Power lines? Like what, hundreds of miles long? Power lines that travel from Norway to other European countries to be able to sell that excess wind and hydroelectric power that it doesn't need. Norway is, oh my gosh, this is really answering the question to me. for how Norway is becoming the wealthiest country in the world. This is really answering it. There's all these things going perfectly right for Norway.
And besides transforming into Europe's most significant energy province, Norway will also likely become one of Europe's and the Western world's largest sources of mineral and rare earth might as well.
Really?
It's well known by now that the global push toward a green energy transition, which is being largely spearheaded by European economies, will require vast amounts of metals and rare earth elements to keep itself going.
Norway also has metals and minerals? What doesn't Norway have? It has metals and minerals for like battery packs and electric stuff as well. What the? Norway has everything.
Rare earths especially are vital materials that are necessary for EV batteries, smartphones, wind turbines, digital cameras, hard drives, and tons of other things that are vital for powering modern 21st century life and growth.
Wow.
Unfortunately, though, for Europe and the Western world, the vast majority of the world's proven rare earth reserves are currently dominated by China.
Oh, interesting. So most of that stuff, these rare earth elements and minerals that are needed, especially for electrical components, are in China. So it'd be great if Norway can pick up some of that demand as well, just like Norway has picked up the oil demand and is going to have wind and hydroelectric and everything and anything. Just Norway taking care of everything. This is crazy. This is amazing. I think that's pretty good for now. We've been going at this for a while. We are almost done with this entire series on why Norway is becoming the world's richest country. This has been so fascinating. And I think I'm going to stop here and finish this whole video next time in part 6. So if you've enjoyed this video so far, feel free to give it a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on Norway and its wealth and all these different forms of energy and all this success that Norway is having. That'd be fascinating to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and Norwegian culture and learning about Norway for the first time, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.